Okay, so this native plant may not look like much, but it's actually it's pretty rare, at least in my area, and it's really beautiful when it's healthier. It's kind of the end of the year, and this kind of got ran over maybe by a four-wheeler or something. This right here is Anaphalis margaritacea. This is in the family Asteraceae. It's a beautiful native plant. It's perennial. It likes full sun. It likes to grow in dry soil. It's very drought tolerant and tolerant of bad soil, like poor sandy soil. It flowers mostly in summer, and it's kind of done flowering now. It's starting to produce seeds, but it has this beautiful kind of white silvery look to it. Again, this one's kind of damaged. It's not very healthy, unfortunately, probably because it got ran over. You can see this whole area kind of got flattened. But yeah, I found this plant, and I've never seen this this far south in Michigan before. But yeah, it is native to the USA. It's native to the northeastern USA, the midwestern USA, and the far western USA. So yeah, it's a pretty cool native plant. Very, very beautiful. And the reason it's so silvery looking is actually to reflect sunlight to cool off the leaves, so the leaves will sweat out less water. So it's actually very efficient at, you know, living during a drought and holding on to water because of those silvery leaves. It keeps the surface of the plant down in temperature, keeps it cool, and so less water will evaporate, and it saves more water. But it's a really cool plant when it's blooming. Even when it's not blooming, it's still really interesting. And yeah, super cool native plant. Seems to be very rare. This is the second time I've seen it, and I've been all over Michigan. So it must be pretty rare. It only grows in prairies or areas that replicate prairies. And the only reason this kind of prairie is here, a lot of prairie is much more endangered than forest in the United States. Like a ton of prairie habitat has been destroyed. There is so little prairie habitat left, it's not even funny. It's really sad. And this is, I've only seen one of these plants in this whole field. I've only seen one. So it's very rare. It's very sad how rare this is. You might be able to buy a plant like this on Etsy. Also, this is perennial, in case I forgot to mention that. So it'll come up every year. So it's very easy to grow. As long as you got full sun and dry soil, this thing will thrive. But unfortunately, it's quite rare. And it thrives on disturbances like fire. Fire is crucial to the ecosystem. It's very, very important. Without fire, a lot of plants will die off. They need that disturbance. Fire has, you know, shaped these ecosystems for millions of years here in the USA. You know, a lot of plants have evolved with fire, and the Native Americans would burn areas of forest and prairie for thousands of years, and even before that, lightning and volcanoes and things would do it. So fires are very important to the ecosystem, and without fires, plants like this become very, very rare. Also because of habitat destruction, very little of their habitat remains. The only reason this kind of prairie area is even here at all is because there's a big power line up here, and so they cut away all the trees for this power line. But the low-growing plants were allowed to grow, and so we have a little kind of prairie here. Lots of goldenrod and native plants. There's some invasives in there too, unfortunately, but there is a lot of native stuff too. But this plant is very, very rare, and it's just such a cool plant. So yeah, it's very rare. If you see this, don't pull it out. It's a native plant. It's very rare. If you're interested in growing this, you can probably buy seeds for it or buy live plants on like Prairie Moon Nursery, Prairie Nursery, similar name but different nursery. You could also buy a live plant of this probably on Etsy, or you could buy seeds on those websites as well. Whatever works for you. But yeah, it likes dry, sunny, open areas. So yeah, it's a really cool plant. It's just kind of beat up right now, so I apologize. It doesn't look very good, but normally it would look a lot better than this. If you're curious how it normally looks, you can look it up. It looks a lot better than this normally, but like I said, this one's just gotten very beat up. It's got ran over, and you know, it's just gotten beat up. It's also the end of the year, so it's starting to go dormant and put all its energy into its root for next year. So it's starting to die off on the top, but it won't die completely because, like I said, it's perennial, so it'll stay alive underground, come up the next year and the next year and the next year and so on. So Very great native plant, very interesting, and seems to be very rare here.